Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us this week. If you are new or haven't watched any of our previous videos, please go back and watch video number 1 to get an idea of why we're doing this and also to learn a little bit more about who we are and the many programs that our division offers. I am Ashlyn.
And I'm Sydney, and we're part of Arbor Circle's youth development team. Today we thought we'd spend some time on a topic that every single one of us humans could benefit from discussing, seeing as we all experience them, and that topic is emotions. Emotions can be quite complicated, especially in early adolescent and teenage years as your brain is developing really fast and you're having new experiences, and therefore oftentimes new emotions. How we experience and express our emotions can be even more complicated. It's important to recognize and explore these feelings because there can be many negative side effects that arise as a result of not being aware of our own emotions. We could talk for hours about emotions, the way we experience them, and how that impacts us, but today we just want to give you a brief introduction. Here are the basics on emotions. Emotions are our reactions to events, triggers, stimuli, basically the things that are going on around us. There are primary and secondary emotions. So primary emotions are that initial emotion we feel as a result of an event or something going on around us. Secondary emotions are what we have learned to experience as a result of our primary emotion. We learn these through our families, our cultures, or our personal experiences. So for example, maybe we feel embarrassment as our primary emotion, which leads us to feel anger as our secondary emotion. Learning to regulate emotions and responses starts with identifying the emotion and then exploring why we're feeling it.
Emotions come and go. Most of us feel many different emotions throughout the day. Some last just for a few seconds. Others might linger to become a mood. They can be mild, they can be intense, or anywhere in between. The intensity of emotion can depend on the situation and on the person. Some people they typically express their emotions more intensely. Other people are very private about their emotions or quiet, or maybe they're just even shy about expressing their emotions, and so they keep them to themselves. Something that is important to know is that there are no good or bad emotions. Emotions are just emotions, but there are good and bad ways of expressing or acting upon those emotions. An example of a negative way of expressing an emotion could be if you're walking down the hallway at school and someone bumps into you, knocking all of your stuff out of your hands. They don't say they're sorry, and that makes you really angry. So you go after them and punch them in the face. That was obviously a negative way to express your anger. It was okay to feel angry, but that expression of the anger, that would be an example of a negative expression. Or if, say, you're talking in class and your teacher yells at you, calls you out to stop talking, again, you might feel a little embarrassed or ashamed. And that comes out as anger, and maybe you cuss out your teacher. That's another example of a negative way of expressing those emotions. Both of those scenarios pose a valid reason for getting upset or for feeling a certain way. However, there's going to be consequences for whatever decision you make in order to express your emotions or to express especially those more difficult emotions like frustration, anger, jealousy. So for those of you who join us during our Zoom group, we will revisit these scenarios and other scenarios and explore what some underlying or primary emotions may have been in these scenarios and go through other examples of underlying or secondary emotions that Sydney was talking about. It's important to know that both positive and negative emotions are normal. All emotions tell us something about ourselves and about our situations. But sometimes we can find it hard to accept what we're feeling. We might judge ourselves for feeling a certain way. For instance, if you feel jealous of a friend, and then you might kind of judge yourself for feeling jealous. Instead of thinking we shouldn't feel that way, It's better to notice how we feel, think about how we're feeling, and consider why we might be feeling that way. Avoiding negative feelings or pretending we don't feel the way that we do can backfire. It's harder to move past difficult feelings if we don't face them and try to understand why we feel that way. It doesn't mean you have to dwell on your emotions or constantly talk about them. It simply means recognizing, respecting, and accepting your feelings as they happen. So there are some ways that you can kind of build that emotional awareness, is what it's called, being aware of your emotions. And you can improve that and improve how you communicate your emotions to others with a couple of tips. So one, making a habit of tuning into how you feel in different situations throughout the day. It's really simple. You probably do it already, but really just being aware of doing it is something that can help you to improve that over time. So you might notice that you feel excited after making plans to hang out with friends, or you might notice that you feel nervous or anxious before taking a test or an exam. You might notice that you feel relaxed when listening to certain music, or maybe you feel kind of angry or charged up when listening to certain music. Those are important things to just kind of take notice of. And naming the emotion in your mind. So literally trying to think of, what emotion am I experiencing right now? Is this anger? Is this sadness? Is this anxiety? Is it jealousy? What am I feeling, and how is it coming out in me? It only takes a second to do it, but again, it's good practice, and it can kind of help you improve that emotional awareness over time. Another thing you can do is rate how strong your feelings are throughout the day. So after you notice and name one of your emotions, rate how strongly you feel that emotion on a scale, maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being like a really mild feeling and 10 being like a really strong or intense feeling. And third is to share your feelings with those who are closest to you. This is probably the best way to practice putting emotions into words, which is a skill that helps us feel closer to our friends, to our parents, our partners, coaches, really just anyone you're interacting with. Make it a daily practice to share your feelings with a friend or family member. It doesn't always have to be intense or really emotional, just like, I'm feeling happy today, or I'm feeling a little run down today. Practicing that, making a point to practice these things, can really go a long way in helping you develop that emotional awareness. If you're feeling really inspired to go within yourself, you could even take it as far as journaling about your experience and exploring your emotions, writing it down someplace where you can go back and reread it later on to see how our emotions shape our behaviors and our interactions with others and with ourselves. It could even be fun to kind of go back and read that journal and kind of just see how your feeling for that day affected how you interacted with all the people you came into contact with for that day.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining us again. If you're part of our weekly Zoom groups, we will see you on Thursday. If you're not but would like to be, I'm going to put some contact information up on the screen. Please reach out to us if you're interested in what that looks like or want to get scheduled with us. Go ahead and take a screenshot of our contact information. You can either reach us through phone or email. Thank you again for joining us, and we will see you next week.